All right, welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into a really fascinating, highly concentrated philosophical text today, one that's going to completely reshape how you think about self-control. Seriously, if you've ever felt like you're just constantly fighting yourself to stay on track, well, you're not alone. Today, we're going to uncover the hidden architecture you need to stop that endless battle and start operating with real, focused clarity. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to take a quick second and just reflect honestly. How often do you give yourself casual permissions? You know exactly the ones I'm talking about, right? Maybe it's bargaining for just 10 more minutes of sleep, or convincing yourself that, hey, one more scroll on your phone won't hurt, or deciding the cookie jar is officially a no-judgment zone today. The text we're analyzing starts off by zeroing in on this exact, incredibly common, but totally derailing behavior.
The author warns us right out of the gate, saying, don't be casual in giving permissions to yourself. Think of this as the trap of casual permissions. It's this massive hidden danger where we're constantly negotiating with ourselves in the moment, rather than operating from a firm, predefined baseline. See, when we're super casual about what we allow ourselves to do, we aren't actually experiencing freedom. No way. We're really just leaving the front door wide open for our immediate, fleeting desires to jump in and take the steering wheel. We end up making choices based on the whim of that exact second, totally forgetting our actual goals.
And the text puts this trap pretty plainly. It says, it is not a good idea to give permissions to do everything you crave for and react to various emotions we get. There's a real heavy gravitas to this warning. The author is explicitly cautioning us against the chaotic habit of reacting to every single desire or emotional wave that hits us. Think about it. If you just follow every craving and react to every single emotion, you completely lose your footing. You just become totally reactive, kind of bouncing around from one urge to the next like a pinball.
And this brilliantly illustrates the absolute core tension running through this whole text. On one side, you have the default mode, which is just this chaotic tornado of reacting to feelings and emotions. It's turbulent, it's unpredictable, and it's driven 100% by whatever is bubbling up inside you at that exact millisecond. But then on the other side, we have the firm shield of relying on rules and standards. This right here is the everyday battle, letting our impulses dictate what we do versus navigating life with established, well-thought-out boundaries. One path leads straight to chaos. The other, it leads to actual control. So why does this battle even matter so much? I mean, why is it absolutely crucial that we don't just casually give in to our cravings? Well, this brings us to the real hidden cost of the problem. This constant internal negotiation, that back and forth of should I, shouldn't I, it isn't just about lacking discipline. The text points out a much deeper, almost physical consequence. It is a massive, silent drain on our mental reserves. Literally, every time you have to decide whether or not to give in to an emotion, you are paying a very real, very heavy tax.
Now, what's really fascinating here is exactly how the source defines this tax. The text literally introduces this concept of mind energy. It states that we need to control ourselves, quote, without using too much of mind energy. It helps to think of mind energy like a finite cognitive battery inside your head. When you try to control yourself purely through willpower in the heat of the moment, without any established rules to fall back on, you are just draining that battery so fast. You're basically forcing yourself into a grueling, exhausting boxing match with your own cravings every single day.
Let's actually map this out logically for a second. If you operate without rules, you deplete your mind energy rapidly. Why? Because your driving force is just unpredictable cravings and emotions. But flip that around. If you operate with established rules, you suddenly conserve that precious mind energy. Your driving force shifts away from those fleeting emotions and locks onto a defined philosophy. So, having no system? It totally exhausts you. Having a system protects your stamina so you actually have energy left over for the things that really matter in your life.
Okay, let's move forward and see how this all builds into the solution presented by the author. We know the trap, right? And we know the heavy cost of drained mind energy. So, how do we escape this mental fatigue? How do we build what we're calling the architecture of self-restraint? Well, the text gives us an incredibly clear, authoritative roadmap. We don't just sit around, cross our fingers, and hope we miraculously feel disciplined tomorrow. No, we have to actively construct a framework. The author writes, the philosophy and standards that we define for ourselves would help us. So we can break this architecture down into a super clear flow. Step 1, define your philosophy. This is your big picture overarching belief system about how you actually want to live. Step 2, set standards. This means taking that high-level philosophy and bringing it down into measurable expectations for your everyday behavior. And then step 3, establish rules. These are your hard, undeniable lines in the sand. You see how that works? A broad philosophy beautifully trickles down into practical, actionable rules.
So the really crucial point here is that having these predefined standards completely changes the game. It completely eliminates the need to constantly self-negotiate. The text states exactly what this accomplishes. It, quote, would help us to take appropriate decisions. You don't have to agonize over what the right decision is in the heat of an emotional moment because your standards have already made that decision for you in advance. It basically automates doing the right thing and secures control over our actions.
Which brings us right to the thematic conclusion of today's explainer. The author grounds this entire philosophy in one very simple, totally unavoidable fact. The text just says, we are humans. And because of that, we have to master our human nature. We aren't robots, right? We are absolutely going to experience cravings, and we are for sure going to get hit by intense emotions. The goal here isn't to pretend those emotions don't exist. It's to deeply understand our inherent human vulnerability to them if we leave them unchecked.
And that leads us to this profound final warning from the source. It says the standards we define help us make decisions, quote, without letting our feelings and emotions exploit our human nature. I really want to focus on that word right there, exploit. The text doesn't view unregulated emotions as some beautiful, authentic form of self-expression. Not at all. It views them as volatile internal forces that will literally take advantage of our human vulnerabilities. If you don't have standards in place, your own feelings will exploit your weaknesses. And that leaves us with the ultimate challenge. You are making a choice every single day. Will your rules guide you, or will your emotions exploit you? And here's the kicker. You're making that choice whether you actively realize it or not. By defining your philosophy and setting your standards, you build this architecture of self-restraint, conserving your mind energy to actually live purposefully. So take some time today to define your standards. Thanks for exploring this architecture with me, and I really hope you leave today ready to build your own.